Erickson Center to Crystal Electric and Buena Vista.
Your downtown's about to take off. You know, those crazy kids that are doing that development down along the Arkansas? You know, it's so great. I would love to have every one of you ask a question, because every time I hear these towns, I just have all these kind of magical experiences we had. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I'll sit down and you just...
Yeah, all right. I'll be back in each of these towns, I guarantee it.
I kind of want to build on what you were talking about. In the early 80s, co-ops were given the ability to opt out of rate regulation by the PUC. This was because the legislature believed locally elected boards were better able to regulate and protect co-op members. Would you support the continued exemption from PUC oversight for the electric co-ops?
Yeah, I think that local control, I think local collaboration is always going to trump authority from a higher level. Not always, but 90 times out of 100, 99 out of 100 times it's going to be more successful. And I think that the key is to make sure that all your members and each of you co-ops have the real facts and the real information. I think you guys will make the right decision if people have the right facts.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
You know, one thing that I didn't talk about, which I probably should have, is because I think it is of significant importance to many of you, is the whole notion of water. And this was when I first got elected. I went out and talked to Club 20 in Grand Junction, and I made a commitment there that Denver would change the way it looked at water. A guy came up after me and said, "Easy to talk about. You know, let's see how easy you find it to get done once you're in power." And again, this is something like the shrinking the size of city government we don't brag about all the time, but we have. I don't run Denver Water, but I appoint the 5-person board that does run it, that manages and directs the CEO. And over the last 6 years, we have reduced the per capita consumption of water among all 1.2 million customers. So Denver Water provides roughly half the metro area, about 20% of the state, their water. And we've cut the per capita consumption by almost 20%. That's the largest non-drought. That's since 2003 drought or 2002 drought. That's the largest non-drought year drop in water consumption of a big city utility in the history of this country. And as you can imagine, you guys all understand this, if you reduce by 20% the gallons of water you're selling, and yet you still have to replace the pipes and the pumps, that means you have to raise the price per gallon. And I've had several calls a week for a couple of years now where we get angry citizens saying, "Why am I paying more for my water?" Right? But it's Denver's water. We have senior water rights. Why is that? And what I've said again and again is that maybe it's not Denver's water. Maybe it's all of our water. And that maybe part of what makes Denver unique and special is the fact that we have a safe, reliable source of food from the Eastern Plains. We've got vegetables and produce. We've got pork and beef. And part of what makes Denver, Denver is the fact that we've got the activities on the West Slope. And I don't mean just skiing and whitewater rafting and fly fishing, but traditional ranching and growing peaches in Palisade. That those activities are what make Denver, Denver. And that's why a home in Denver, people don't realize this, but a home in Denver is worth 20% more per square foot than a home in Kansas City. It's because it's in Colorado. And I tell those callers who are complaining, I say, maybe it's in your self-interest to make sure that every drop of water possible stays in the Colorado River, stays in the Arkansas River, stays in the Platte, stays in the Fraser. And every single time I've had that conversation, the person goes, "Huh, you're right. No one ever said it to me that way." And I think, you know, that doesn't solve the problem, the fact that Denver Water is in the last 6 years transformed its relationship, but it does set a symbol that that Denver's going to be a partner, and that the rest of the state can rely on Denver to try and work through this situation. I think there are several other ways, other compromises and collaborations that we're going to have to go through, but I think working that way we will be able to solve a lot of these issues around water.
Okay, one more question, we'll wrap this up. Craig?
Mr. Mayor, I'm Craig Rantham from Fort Worth, Colorado. Appreciate you coming today and giving us some of your insight. I have a question. If you had a bill come across your desk if you're elected as governor promoting fuel switching, natural resource from, say, coal to natural gas or whatever, would you sign it?
Would depend on the bill. Are you asking would I have signed the one that came up, that came through it?
Basically, yes.
Yeah, I think I would have signed that. I mean, that was the utility looking at it. If you look at the air standards that we're going to be held to, and which we should be held to, right? As we understand more about the human body and we see some of the consequences of pollution, I think we're fools if we don't begin to adjust to it. Now, if those coal plants burned as cleanly as the coal plants were out that I saw out in Craig, this would be much less of an issue, and I wouldn't think would be relevant. But based on the information I was given, those coal plants were pretty filthy, and Xcel's decision was that they wanted to go forward and convert those to natural gas. It helps them in terms of achieving their 30% renewables. Every time those wind turbines go on, and they often go on at night, right? That's when they don't have the load, so they have to kind of slow down and shut down the coal-powered plants. And that cycling, I mean, you guys know all this, is very inefficient and made those coal plants very dirty. Gas helps solve a lot of that problem. So if another bill came along, I'd have to look at, was the utility in favor of it? Was this a collaboration that both sides of the equation were interested in? I wouldn't automatically say no, though. I mean, I understand what the right answer is, but I'm not going to give you just the politically right answer. I'm going to try and tell you guys the truth. Anyway.
Okay, fantastic, Mr. Mayor. We really appreciate your being here. You talked about being out on your tours of Colorado. We serve about 75% of the land area of Colorado. So if you're out in the hinterlands, stop in at any of our co-ops. We'll be glad to host you and talk to you. We're just in the business of trying to keep rates affordable and our service reliable to all of Colorado. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.